My dear friends, by divine providence, a few months ago, I was in front of something that I didn't know existed. A slab of rock. But it wasn't just any slab of rock. It was in the midst of a Benedictine monastery. And it wasn't any Benedictine monastery, it was a monastery built around that block. Hence the block was of some importance. It was on the Lake of Tiberias that this happened, and when there is an unbroken tradition, one takes it seriously. This is the rock. And so much so that it was a nuisance across the centuries, and the Muslims didn't like this rock. And so they hacked away at it. And by now it's only the central part of it that remains, but it's the same rock. And I believe one can still celebrate Mass on it. It was therefore where the Lord took these 5 barley loaves and the 2 fish, looked up to heaven, blessed, and gave it to them. Does that sound familiar? In the old rite, all those gestures are repeated, one after the other, including that looking up. In my little hermitage chapel, that actually works better, because behind the very beautiful old crucifix I have there, I can see the sky, and if it's night, the stars. I can see time and power. And I know that as I look up, I'm looking up to that same author of power that the Lord was looking up to when he stood at that bit of rock and commanded the elements to be. Does that sound familiar? Let there be. The first words heard in time. Let there be light. Lux fiat. Now the Lord was using the Trinitarian power to make matter be. He was also wisdom, and he was warning us not to be so much zoomed into matter and bread that we forget that we have power on side. And he warned us that the animals and the lilies of the field have more notion than we do of providence, because we think that by worrying we can make the world go round. Last night I was texting back a student in Dublin who could see trillions of pages ahead of her and not enough time. And I was just saying this: never look further than the page you have before you, for the war is won with the immediate victory. It applies to us too. We can only handle 1 second at a time. Now, to do that, we need not to overfill that second with the seconds yet to come, and to damage it by overloading it, e.g. I would like to take you to the first reading and dwell on just one part of it, as to how we damage our journey through time. Slavery. Are we free? Just the other day, I had a student with me who was showing me a game that she had invented on a computer and showed how to play it. But added this comment: you can see why these games become addictive. You want to win against the machine. Multiply that by all that is soliciting us time-wise on the screen. Is it true or is it not? If we go in to look for something specific, e.g. on internet, specifically in the realm of YouTubes, we are hugely solicited not to stop after what we have gone to investigate. What will come up next to it? Something, and not just one, which might interest us, because we're looking at that. So is it true or not? We will more often than not also look at that. And wow, is there not another one coming after it? And since we're there, we'll look at that too. And what's happened? One video has become 1 hour. Oh, and let's catch up on any messages which have come in the meantime. So, one message will lead to another. And what happens? We're on that machine, whole evenings long. And do you know, my friends, that parents and teachers right now are quite worried. Even in good families, children, young adolescents, but actually even young children, are no longer able to sit down with a book. It has to be something moving. Do you see what's going on there? We are being damaged, profoundly damaged, by our habit of looking for long periods at an interesting, exciting, soliciting, magic screen. I was talking to a lecturer in Dublin, and he was telling me, and he is teaching very brilliant students, this. Before you got them to sit down before a book, you've got several barrages to get through. They're in their study room, they've got about 4 or 5 screens, and that's probably true, each one in its own mode soliciting them. And very little time, even among intelligent students, is actually going into the real thing, for which there is no replacement. Let's be straight about it. Unless one can ingest simply hard facts, one is not a real student. One is a spoon-fed zombie, and our universities are full of spoon-fed zombies. But there's one specific area that I want to go into with regard to slavery. Very few in the Western Hemisphere, the sphere, we can say the sphere of society as we know it ourselves, culture in modernity, are actually able to be in that freedom of emptiness and virginal silence, which alone gives access to him. Do you see, therefore, that this slavery is not just human or societal, it is actually demonic. We are being solicited by a strange power into a virtual reality which is blocking out the only one that counts. So when the Lord later on in this gospel warns them who are coming after him for miracles, do not labor for the bread that perishes, but for that which will endure to eternal life, which the Son of Man will give you. This labor for, yes, success, for, yes, friendship. And you know what friendship means now. It's being a friend on internet. And if you've got a great following, you're somebody. My friends, you're nothing at all if you haven't got a friendship with him. There is far more richness, I've noticed actually, in Romania, where there's none of this going on because there's no money, than here in civilized Ireland. Do you know, when I was in Romania, I was playing with children of all between the age of 4 and 22, all with the nuns, having great fun with natural homegrown games. Why? They had little, and a little meant a lot, and they had simple fun, which was uncomplicated and unsoliciting. I leave you, my friends. Which category do you want to spend time in? Sucked in, made a slave, or free to have time for what you're meant for? Intimacy with the one true friend whose power rules the world.